To my future wife Grace, Part 6, Homeless Anonymous, an open letter. February 19th, 2024, 8:46 p.m. Dear Grace, the good news is I recorded Part 5 tonight at 8 p.m., which is the time I would normally be getting on stage. I have no idea how I feel about my first stand-up, Grace, but I know that after I read out my words to you in these letters, I feel a certain relief it's over. On the other hand, I question the speed of my progress in both stand-up and this never-ending letter to you. February 20th, 2024, 11:46 a.m. Good morning, Grace. Sure, it's almost afternoon, but technically. I thought more about my last letter to you and Rob's situation last night. I was right about the video. He posted one this morning, and it's nothing more than him repeating what he shared on his community page in text. No visuals of the damage done. I do understand why Rob posts his videos. It's no different than me writing to you. It's a contact to the outside world. When you're alone, Grace, you tend to create your own viewpoint about reality and life. In my case, being alone was more of an experiment. I knew I had to get the voices out of my head, and alone time is the only way. If you never talk to anyone in person, you never hear their voice in your head. For me, this is a perfect state of mind for writing or any creative activity. Whatever you produce will be 100% your own unique vision. I am pushing Rob through the comments of his videos. Nearly everyone agrees with every word without question, and the viewpoint is very narrow. I'm trying not to be too much of a prick in my comments, Grace, but sometimes I do use a sharp edge. Speaking about talking about themselves, I feel more awake than I have in a while, Grace. The body is still tired, but mind is clearing. 1:18 p.m. I took a shower, Grace, and it's a good place to reset. I was thinking about AT, anonymous therapy, I mentioned in an earlier letter, and I can see how Rob is, in a way, doing just that. Yes, he has followers that he interacts with online, but he doesn't talk to them. He's not having a conversation, and if anyone negatively comments on any of his videos, he blocks them. If you watch this video, Grace, I am the you again he mentions in the video. I was the one he blocked, his choice, but I question the use of AMA. It should be AMSTWBM. Ask me something that won't bother me. That sounds a bit petty, Grace, or maybe it doesn't, I don't know. Like Rob, I don't get feedback, but unlike Rob, I've told my readers I don't give a shit about their comments and I'll write the way I feel like no matter what. Rob still cares, he replies to the comments. I stopped caring and replying years ago. However, because he does care too much about others, even the security guards and their families who harass him, there's still hope. Rob is basically conducting AT, but without the human interaction. He can only assume the tone of the comments. He can't hear the emotion in the person's voice. Any assumption Rob makes is based on his experiences over the last couple of years, which have not been great for him. I wonder when the last time Rob had a truly meaningful conversation with another person, Grace. I'm not even suggesting counseling. I think if Rob was able to express himself anonymously, but personally, to another human, it would help. I would suggest he does exactly like YouTube, but to one single individual who will listen and learn his life story, not to give advice, but just to listen and be there for Rob. Then, when and if Rob is ready, he can ask for help from this individual. Rob believes he has no control in his life, Grace. I understand, I've been there, but he does have control and others have gone through worse. However, if you say that to him, instantly blocked. Rob is ready to talk, he's not ready to listen. Normally, if he was an addict, I would say he needs to hit rock bottom. Maybe he is an addict. Maybe he has drug of choices like mine, speaking to others and ignoring their comments. It's not, Grace. He doesn't directly ask for money, but he mentions YouTube monetization about 1 million times. He'll take it. He just wants it done his way. I get it. Rob could get off the street the same way I avoided the homelessness, Grace, rehab. You can fake an addiction and be off the street in days if you're willing to lie a little bit. If I suggest this to Rob, he'll make excuses about not being able to leave or being controlled or whatever. They're all the same, and I get it. But he doesn't admit his life is his choice. He chooses to stay on the street. If he had done this last fall instead of moving into the woods, he'd be through the program and into secondary housing. Yes, rehab sucks, but they don't just throw you out in the street when done. They are connected to housing opportunities the general public is not aware of, as well as job opportunities. It's possible he's aware of the option and his pride still prevents him from making the call. 3:24 p.m. I realized, Grace, I could show you a little more of my life instead of describing it. Maybe make this letter a bit more interesting visually. I shouldn't complain about Rob's boring talking heads when I'm essentially doing the same. To make up for it, here's a picture of my sausage. I decided to go back on keto for a while. I just noticed that what is left of my laptop is pretty dirty. I'll clean it once I'm done writing, Grace. Maybe. On my trip to the store today to buy sausage, I had an idea, Grace. What about Homeless Anonymous? Like AA, HA would be a group of homeless supporting each other for a better life. I'm not suggesting they do the 12 steps, Grace, although it wouldn't hurt. Instead, they could focus on what others need to get off the street, or maybe by sharing their stories they can find inspiration, understanding their situation doesn't seem so bad. Or maybe they could develop their own 12 steps. The homeless 12 steps. 12 steps to get off homeless. So many options, Grace. I should clarify, Grace, I faked needing rehab to avoid living on the street. However, I was an alcoholic at one point in my life. I knew what to expect, and it was relatively in rehab, and it was relatively easy for me as a writer to make up stories at an AA meeting. Nobody actually questions your story since it's anonymous, in theory, but it's a great way to get stuff off your chest. Also, since Rob is desperately hoping his Ontario disability application is approved, a stint in rehab will actually help the application. I suspect if I made the suggestion to Rob, you'd say, I don't trust the other homeless. Probably most homeless men would say the same. They're alone on the street for a reason. 7:12 p.m. I realize I still haven't sent you a day in your life, Grace. 7:12 p.m. I realize I still haven't sent you a day in the life of Dave letter, Grace. I'll attempt to incorporate eventually. I just returned from the library where I was writing notes about this letter. I couldn't seem to find the flow earlier. I'll try again now. I was thinking more about the rehab as a way off the street, and it seems logical to me. I guess that's why I did it. I don't understand why others wouldn't. The rehab doesn't even care. They are paid by the government either way. And the one I went to admitted, I know some of you are here to avoid the winter, not addiction. That's okay with us. My experience was fine, but I'll admit I was in a better place than Rob is in now. I decided to write my way through it, and I did. Everything I wrote was crap, but at least I wrote, Grace. The first 30 days they'd take away your electronics. I didn't mind. I was happy to write by hand. My handwriting is barely legible, Grace. It looks like a child's, unfortunately. I remember being embarrassed in a business seminar once where my boss called me up to write on the whiteboard for him. I tried to shake my head no, but I had no choice. I was forced to write in childlike handwriting in front of my co-managers, in fact. It was a management seminar. It didn't help that at the time I couldn't spell very well either. I'm better now, or maybe not. I can't remember which words I misspelled. But my boss did say, I see why you didn't want to write. No shit, Sherlock. I was their IT guy and did everything by email computer, not their fucking secretary. The food was fine in rehab, not the highest quality, but not shit. Cook was in fact a paying job at the rehab that anyone could be trained on and earn extra cash. I failed to record this February 21st, 2024, 11:47 a.m. I failed to record this letter last night, Grace, and I don't like the flow of this letter, so I'll end it now. I could rewrite by why. These were my thoughts at the time. These are the thoughts I should be sharing with you directly, Grace, not editing them to make myself